I'm here from Telangana, the newly formed state, with a little of my experience in education for about my 3 decades of association with schools. I'm being myself a teacher and an administrator. Earlier, I was the president of the Telangana State Private Schools Association. I have seen how the schools suffered and are blamed also. I definitely feel the topic that is being given to me is quite relevant to my thought process, and I hope there is a rich galaxy of other speakers sharing the days here, especially Professor Geeta and Kavita. They also are going to do their best. And I would like to share with one quote that especially in Telugu states of Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, we have a prominent TV channel. It's called TV9. Of late, it is coming regularly with a caption on its screen saying that private schools mafia. Private schools mafia. We are really surprised and shocked to note that the contributors directly and indirectly for the human capital, national economy, and as well as in making a very good society are branded as bandits and mafia, and still we are silently bearing, not knowing that how much of research evidence is available about our good contributions to this society. So I think this is an apt time that we all should realize that how much we are contributing and what the other society is making, what is their understanding about it. Let me put my topic will go like this: evidence to challenge the denial of budget private schools' contributions to quality learning and cost effectiveness of education in India. I think it would be better for me to quickly run through my pages here. A large body of research published since the year 2000 speaks about and has documented the significance of growing contributions to quality learning and cost effectiveness by budget, the so-called low-cost private schools in cities, towns, slums, and even villages in India. Despite the evidence, governments, media, and even academia do not acknowledge the success and potentialities of budget private schooling in our country. The failure to appreciate such developments and to admit their significance in relation to government schools is a sort of denial. Many are in denial about what is happening in schooling throughout a large part of our nation. In this presentation, I set out to evidence regarding the quality of learning and cost effectiveness in budget private schools in India, and look at also the aims to identify various aspects of budget private schools which lacks credible evidence. Since the seminal work of Becker in 1962 and Schulz in 1961 on the theory of human capital, education policy has been increasingly the object of research for its intrinsic importance, but also for its instrumental value in the improvement of society. Theoretical economical models have emphasized the role of schooling in determining the returns to education that ultimately foster economic growth. So, investing in human capital through education policy has been a growing priority to developing countries. More recently, the education policy debate has gradually shifted from access to schooling to improving learning quality. The transition is to dominate the post-2015 Global Development Framework for Educational Development and can be explained by 2 important factors. Firstly, growing evidence emphasizes that quality of education is what matters for economic development. This shows that cognitive skills are more strongly associated with increase in earnings and development outcomes that schooling attains. And the second factor being the recognition that poor quality of education remains specific to in developing countries. UNESCO in 2004 reports that globally 2,500 million children are functionally illiterate and enumerate despite 50% of them having spent at least 4 years in school. Similarly, in India, according to ASAT 2015's report, more than half of the all grade 5 students' reading ability stands at grade 2. Now, between 1999 and 2003, researchers published findings about India in Probe 99's report, and Agarwal in 2000, Toole and Dixon in 2002 cited the evidence of a rapidly increasing sector of budget private schools in India. For example, in Haryana, 50% of primary school aged children were being educated in the private sector. Indeed, the choice for parents was no longer whether to send their children to school, but to which type of school. This is what Agarwal says in 2000 report. Also, researchers identified a mushrooming of private schools in all parts of the country owing to poor quality in government schools. The exodus from government schools to private schools is what the trend that the government is now trying to stop. More recently, survey and census data from slums, villages and towns around the country expand upon these initial indications. Large number of budget private schools are found in several impoverished urban areas of India, in about 90 square miles of notified slum areas in the 3 poorest zones of Hyderabad, that is Telangana. At least 65% of enrolled children are attending budget private schools. The survey carried out elsewhere in India also shows that all categories of parents value budget private schools. The latest research from Patna, Bihar shows that in all 72 wards of the whole city, there are a total of 1,574 schools, of which 79% are attending private schools when compared to only 21% government school. 69% of the 1,224 unaided private schools are low-cost budget private schools serving the poor and charging less than 500 per month. Approximately 65% of school children in Patna were attending budget private schools, with just 34% attending government schools. Based on the monthly fees being charged at each private school, the research also found that 69% of private unaided schools were low cost, 22% were affordable, and only 9% higher cost. In other words, the vast majority of private unaided schools found in the city of Patna were low-cost budget schools charging less than 500. In rural India, it estimated more than 40% of children aged 6 to 14 are enrolled in private schools, and in the states of Haryana, Kerala, Manipur and Meghalaya, the share exceeds 50%. These all statistics I wanted to give only to know that how the trending of leaving the government schools because of the poor care and joining the private schools is an ongoing process at this present and current scenario. Then coming to the quality and cost of budget private schooling, data was collected from Hyderabad by James Toole in 2007 regarding commitment of the teachers in budget private schools, when researchers called unannounced there, more than 90% of teachers in private schools were teaching compared to only 70% in government schools. What seems to have more effect in that good budget private schools are able to retain better teachers by renewing their contracts and let go the less effective ones. Thule further reports that across several most urban localities, their team studied in India and also in similar financial conditions prevailing countries like Nigeria and Ghana. Facilities were generally better in private schools than government schools, including access for children to drinking water, electricity, and teaching aids and materials. Private schools also placed fewer children in each class, that is, they had smaller pupil-teacher ratio. According to a study by Sen and Blatchford in 2001 and Mitra in 2003, parents in India also want their children to attend private schools because they specifically teach all subjects in English. Many, perhaps most, budget private schools are English medium. Parents believe that learning through English helps their child attain better opportunities after school in both employment and further education. Parents typically are of the opinion that if their child can communicate in English, this then provides them a better chance of lifting themselves and their families out of poverty. As of the people achievement, the data when comparing government and budget private schools, typically the results show that people in budget private schools outperform those in government schools and at a fraction of teacher cost. This is what Thule has reported in 2011 report. Rob Friends and Geeta Kingdon also in 2010 have also shown that in rural India, students in private schools significantly outperform government school students. To summarize, research in several urban and equally rural areas of India shows that in the cities, towns, slums and villages, more children attend budget private schools than government schools. Budget private schools are reported in remote rural areas too, and the numbers are growing. Most budget private schools have more dedicated teachers, smaller class size, and better facilities, even while incurring a fraction of the government school's teacher costs. And children in budget private schools seem to be outperforming those in government schools, even after controlling for socio-economic factors and selection bias. Then why are some very influential players refuse to acknowledge the actualities and potentialities of budget private schools playing significant and responsible role in providing quality education to the middle class, lower middle class, and the poor of India? Research reports of Ford in 2011 and O'Hara in 2012 shows, though, that the poor are able to access budget private schools that are competitive in quality measures. Daily paid laborers living in slums and smaller towns send their children to affordable fee-paying budget private schools, and the poorest groups are able to access private education through concession, scholarships, and free ships offered by the school managements themselves. This is one important thing that which we have to highlight, that almost in every school that we are giving more than 7 to 10% of free ship to desirable students, and that also makes a considerable contribution in the economical development of the nation. Now coming to the choice, UNESCO in its report of 2008 states that the rapid growth of low-fee budget private schools in India is in large measure a symptom of state failure. Chronic underfinancing, often combined with weak accountability, low levels of responsiveness, and poor quality of provision, has led millions of poor households to exit the government schools. This is not a prescription either of equity or for accelerated progress towards education for all. So, choice of private schooling is regarded not a choice, but a forced choice. Wordhead in 2012 states that it is important to emphasize that the current growth in the budget private school sector is making a major positive contribution to achievement of education for all goals and especially quality education for all. Now, when budget private schools are making such a significant contribution to education for all sections of people and directly and indirectly contributing enormous to the national economy, human capital development and national building, why governments, media and academia deny acknowledging all the good that is emanating from the budget private school sector and the entrepreneurs or edupreneurs who instead are trying to fix the unfixable in our country. Now I wanted to throw a small light upon AP School Choice Project,
Dr.
that
Paranjyothi.
which has given evidence of quality of learning and cost effectiveness in budget private schools. So I am just coming to summarize the project that which was undertaken in 5 districts in Andhra and Telangana, in almost in by Azim Premji Foundation, in with about 180 villages in 1,980 schools, about where 10,245 students have participated. The conclusions are like this, that private schools in this setting are delivering better test scores against the public counterparts and do so at substantially lower costs per student. Therefore, private managements will be able to deliver better education outcome if they have the same per child spending as government schools. This is a very important area for future recommendations, and the expenditure that is incurred on the children in the government sector, if it is paid as a voucher, the private schools would be definitely doing much better. I have a quick list of 16 parameters that which are like the 16 practices of budget private schools. First one is achievement orientation, school policy and high expectations. Second is educational leadership. Third is consensus and cohesion among staff. Fourth is curriculum quality, opportunity to learn. Fifth is school climate. Sixth is evaluative potential. Seventh is parental involvement. Eighth is classroom environment. Ninth is effective learning time. 10th is structured instruction. 11th is guided to independent learning. 12th is differentiation, adaptive instruction. 13th is feedback and reinforcement. I wanted to stop a minute here and tell you that this academic achievement file, if you all remember, in 1988, I went to Kenya to study the school system there because my sister was also there. When I visited Oshwal Academy there, one Mr. Matthew, he was the principal of the school, he was maintaining one file for every child. After having seen that, when I came back, earlier to that, we were all giving progress card as scholastic report, where the parent was not knowing what the child has written. So since then, what we have converted is, we started posting the answer papers along with the progress file card and send them in a file to the parent. That was adopted by many schools, and parents started knowing that what the child is writing. So thereby lot of accountability came on the teacher and also on all the stakeholders, and thereby since then, mostly in South India, there's a lot of change of believing the private schools, because they were sending the evidence of performance and evidence of learning. So lastly, optimum utilization of resources is done in the private schools, and use of ICT and digital devices. Then concept of lifelong learning for all stakeholders. Here the difference is, even just now I was talking to one ma'am from Goa. She was telling she joined her PhD course now, and her students were asking, like, why madam, why have you joined now? Yes, lifelong learning is what we all think is an essential component, what is missing in the government counterpart. So my dear friends, there is a lot of evidence in favor of us. We need not fear. Like recommendations are there. As CCE came from foreign and child rights came from foreign countries, okay? Now, like OCHR system also will come, and those who are serving better and rendering good services will be encouraged. Thank you very much.